irregular warfare and counterterrorism expert, former deputy assistant to President Donald Trump, author of the New York Times bestseller "Defeating Jihad: The Winnable War." Dr. Gorka, welcome back to the program. Well, that's kind of amazing that a deep stater just out and out admits it on the air, isn't it?
Well, it is rather remarkable, but he's just a member of the left-wing chattering classes who wants to protect the deep state. For months, I refused to use the phrase deep state. I thought it was a little bit too conspiratorial. But after what we've seen in the Nunes memo, it is absolutely clear. What we have is a secret surveillance warrant acquired illegally with the knowing exclusion of exculpatory evidence. That is the definition of the deep state. When you are targeting in American citizens for political purposes and using the intelligence community, that is the definition of the deep state, unfortunately.
So are you in favor of seeing the Democrats' rebuttal to this, their memo?
I have no problem with anybody who is charged with oversight and has the congressional mandate with oversight of the intelligence community in publishing whatever they want, as long as it meets the requirements of national security, which entails there can be no damage to ongoing intelligence operations and no sources and methods are disclosed in that document. I find it fascinating that for 72 hours, the Democrats were desperate to prevent the release of the Nunes memo, stating that it was full of sources and methods. And when it is released, what do we find? No sources and methods mentioned. And now they want to say it's a nothing burger. So it went from being an apocalyptic assault on the national security infrastructure to being a nothing burger in the space of 72 hours. That's all you need to know about the credibility of the left wing on Capitol Hill.
Well, I wonder if you might have an insight into the president's attitude about this, because if the Democrat response, the Democrat memo is to be released, evidently the president would have to approve it, or at least pocket it, and a few days would go by and it would be released. What do you think he would do? Would he say, okay, yeah, show it?
Well, look, again, if it meets the criteria of not undermining ongoing operations or current sources and methods, there should be no objection. I've spoken to the president recently, and he's kept a very hands-off approach to all of these issues, whether it's the Mueller investigation or what's going in Congress. So, you know, the White House objection is based solely upon whether or not it endangers national security. It is up to the members on the Hill to decide what they put into that memo and make sure that it does not endanger U.S. national security.
Do you, when you look at this, are you absolutely certain, or do you think that certainty is provided in this memo that basically that FISA warrant was had by underhanded means and that they were using this now discredited dossier to get it?
It's not a question of whether I have certainty. Every human being who has a heartbeat and is breathing should have certainty, because we now have testimony. Just listen to the words of James Comey. Listen to the sworn testimony of the Andrew McCabe, who was until last week the deputy director of the FBI. James Comey stated the dossier is unfounded, uncorroborated, and salacious. Andrew McCabe swore in front of the Hill that the dossier was the central pillar of the acquisition of that FISA warrant. So here you have the FBI's highest level confirming the dossier was false. It had been paid for by the DNC and Hillary Clinton, and yet it was used to obtain that warrant. And the fact that it came from the DNC's having paid for it was hidden from the judge. If you keep exculpatory information hidden from the judge to whom you are applying to a warrant, you have committed perjury and abuse of power. It is that simple, John.
Dr. Gorka, the Democrats say that this Nunes memo, which both of us have read and you have been citing, is meant to undermine the Mueller investigation. That is the purpose of it. Do you think that's true?
Not at all. This memo focused specifically on abuses of power related to spying on U.S. citizens associated with the Trump campaign. So it calls into question the rectitude, the credibility of the FBI's higher echelons and DOJ, yes, but it's not specifically about the Mueller investigation.
So does the Mueller investigation have it backwards? Should he be investigating this rather than this so-called Russia collusion?
Look, somebody now should definitely be investigating these illegal actions taken against the Trump campaign. Absolutely, but the fact is, I don't think it should be Robert Mueller. Look at this one fact chain. Robert Mueller interviewed to be director of the FBI again on May the 16th. He was escorted to that interview with the president by Rod Rosenstein. They are good friends. He failed the interview. The president did not want him to come back. He wanted new blood. He didn't want a former Bush appointee. And when he failed that interview, the very next day, Rod Rosenstein appointed him special prosecutor, special counsel to investigate the president who he failed in front of when it came to a job interview. Robert Mueller shouldn't be investigating anybody. He should disappear and pick up his government pension. That's what Robert Mueller should do.
I've been speaking with Dr. Sebastian Gorka, a former deputy assistant to President Trump, an irregular warfare and counterterrorism expert, author of the New York Times bestseller, Defeating Jihad, the Winnable War. Dr. Gorka, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks very much for your time today.
You're welcome. God bless you and the listeners.
Thank you. It's always great to talk to him. Angry Rich, he is the definition of blunt, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Refreshingly.
Refreshingly so. And Mueller's the wrong guy to investigate the former